Entering the Mayo experience.
That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. That Mayo experience. Experience.
Welcome to another edition of the Dog or Pass podcast. This for UFC Fight Night Denver. Chansung Jung versus Yair Rodriguez. They returned to Denver, the site of the first event. Cody Saftic, obviously, here with me to break down this card. It's a far cry from a pretty sweet pay-per-view that we had last week. You know, it may not have the pay-per-view buys or anything like that, but like
you hate that stuff.
I hate that shit, man. Like I like good fights and like good matchups and you know, stars being born. Israel Adesanya just kind of not shocked the world, but like let people know that Brunson
was tailor-made for him.
He was tailor-made for him.
So let's see how he does against some of these other guys. But yeah, exciting to see a good prospect in the division.
I'm continuing to drink the Kool-Aid.
Oh.
I like where he's going. This card, on the other hand, you're going to notice a little general trend over the course of this card. I'm going to be going, I don't really trust this person with my money. There's a lot of people top to bottom here. That it's
a tough card.
It's tricky. It's tricky for sure. There's definitely going to be some underdog opportunities along the way. It's whether you have the cojones to go and do that. But before we get to any of that, we have last week's UFC winner is Mr. TC Bender. Congratulations to you. $20 should be in your account, or if it's not in your account, or it's in the process of getting into your account. And then this week, I haven't even thought of one, Cody. You're on the spot.
On the spot. So, there's been a lot of talk recently about GUNTHER on this card, and everybody's alluding to the fact that he may be the worst fighter in the UFC division.
That's my gimmick first. Gimmick infringement.
I know, gimmick infringement. So I'm interested in seeing if you do have those similar opinions when we do get to that fight. But for this week's question, if there was a Mount Rushmore of the worst guys that have fought in the UFC over the last 10 years, no doubt Anthony Christodoulou's on that list. No doubt Juan Potts is on that list. No doubt Bojan Mahalovic is on that list.
He's like the centerpiece.
Is John Gunther the fourth guy, or is there somebody worse than him over the last 10 years? Let us know down below. You have to like the show and leave your DK handle and win some bucks, baby. So let's do it.
Put the one person that you would have on your MMA Mount Rushmore, worst fighter of all time.
And if you disagree with the three guys that I mentioned that are already on it, say that you disagree, but you're wrong, because those guys are literally scraping the bottom of the barrel.
So, giving the show a like, providing us with your DK handle, plus who you would have to the worst fighter in UFC history,
10
Mount
years.
Rushmore.
Last 10 years. Because
last
obviously
10 years,
we know back in the day, there was some terrible guys. So
and you.
Somewhat modernized last 10
By doing all those things, you could win.
Disclaimer on that. You can't say Jason Reinhart. Disclaimer on that.
Why?
Because he's so bad, dude. If you watch any of his fights, the Joe Lozon fight, the Paul Taylor fight, they're the worst thrashings in the history. But anyways, just leave your opinion.
That sounds unfair.
Well, that's my answer.
I'm gonna veto that. I'm gonna veto that and say that you can put Jason Reinhart.
Okay, well, feel free then.
Do whatever you like. Maybe even put Jason Reinhart just to trigger Cody over here, because he seems really upset about it.
Full trigger.
Before we get to any of that other stuff, just have to quickly say odds and lines are subject to change. See website for actual odds. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. UFC Denver, here we go. We got Chansung Jung taking on Yair Rodriguez. Chansung Jung is 8,500 on DraftKings and a minus 135 favorite. Yair Rodriguez, 7,700 plus 115. What a strange year for Yair Rodriguez. Like, he's been in the middle of a whole bunch of drama that really isn't his fault, but
he's been released. He's been
released,
back.
Which was bullshit.
He went from the poster boy of the UFC to
getting beaten by Frankie Edgar.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you know, that makes sense. As a young guy, getting better, working on that takedown defense versus a guy who's won titles, held titles for a long period of time, has
competed at the highest level for
great pace and wrestling, and has the whole game put together. So it's like, that Frankie Edgar loss is nothing. Not fighting Yair or Zabit. Maybe, like it's a very strange situation. Maybe he didn't want to fight, but you know what? Nobody in that division really wants to fight Zabit. Like, there's not much to gain from it. You lose to him, and it looks, and the general public doesn't know who he is yet, and the hardcores do know who he is. Like, that's a tough fight. There's certain guys in every division that, like, it's just very, very difficult to get fights for. Chansung Jung, on the other hand, 4 years off, comes back, takes on Bermudez. Kind of tailor-made for him is that as long as he was able to not succumb to any of his takedown attempts, which I don't even know if he really had too many takedown attempts.
You said tailor-made in the sense that Chansung Jung's known for his durability, and Dennis Bermudez, once the gunfight starts, he's going to fold up a little bit. He's got all the skills in the world. Durability is an issue, and yeah, tailor-made. But you talk about question marks. Both guys have been off for a long time, so that's a complete new set of question marks. But I'm interested in your take.
I think Yair, if this fight stays on the ground, I think Yair does have obviously the more flashy skills, which flash doesn't necessarily win you fights, but I think he's just better at manipulating range, controlling range, and we saw when he took on BJ Penn. Obviously, I'm not comparing BJ Penn to the Korean Zombie here, but we saw what he's capable of when he has a striking advantage, and I just don't know if we know how to neutralize Yair Rodriguez, and that is by taking him down and smashing him like Frankie Edgar did. I don't know if Chansung Jung has that in his arsenal to, especially over the course of 5 rounds, continuously land these takedowns and continue that type of game plan. I think eventually it turns into a firefight on the feet, and I think I lean towards Yair here. On DraftKings, 100%, like 7,700, like there's the value right there. I think he's very, very likely to win the fight. I think his durability is fine. It's just the takedown defense and ability to get back up against an elite guy like Frankie Edgar. That's the biggest red flag that we've seen with this guy. And I just don't think that's an issue that he should run into against Chansung Jung.
Yeah, this fight actually embodies why, especially in MMA, you're only as good as your last fight. Because both of them, if you look at their recent history, Yair Rodriguez is the darling of the UFC. People love this guy. First of all, they get him to headline a card against Bruce Leroy, which he didn't look that great in. But they're letting him headline as a young fighter, his own show. Their marketing machine's getting behind him. Then they do him the greatest favor of all time. They give him BJ Penn. What more of a favor could you want than that? You got an aging legend, poses very little problem to you, and he's got a huge name. We're putting you over as a star. He smashes BJ Penn, and they give him Frankie Edgar. A little bit too much, a little bit too soon. Loses that fight, and now people are just way off the bandwagon because of the Magomed-Sharapov stuff, and because, you know, he hasn't been fighting in the last year and a half, and because he got thrashed in the manner that he did against Frankie Edgar, even though he was a favorite, and a lot of people really liked him going into that. Crazy how he was the favorite going into a fight with Frankie Edgar. That's how much people were behind him. One fight later, and a little bit of time off, and now people are going the other direction. It's crazy. Meanwhile, Chansung Jung has been off for military service. He's off for 2 years. People are thinking, A, he might be shot because he's taking a tremendous amount of damage. He's got a lot of injuries. The last time we remember seeing him, he's got a shoulder popping out against Jose Aldo. He's been gone for 2 years. Where's he been training? He comes back and he beats Dennis Bermudez, takes another year and a half off, takes almost 2 years off. He's all of a sudden the betting favorite over Yair Rodriguez. You're only as good as your last fight. It's crazy. But a lot of the time when you look at value and you look at the lines, it's a lot of favoritism. It's like who people are like, who they're backing. Chansung Jung is a fan favorite. Everybody likes the Korean Zombie. It's been like that for a long time. We're happy to see him back.
You didn't wear his shirt.
To be quite honest, he's been fighting for so long, he's been around for so long, I don't even know if I fit in that shirt anymore. So that goes to show you how long this guy's been a fan favorite. We like to get behind him. We like to back him because he's coming off a win and because he actually looked good in that win. It's easy to get behind this guy. Yair Rodriguez, meanwhile, he's the villain of the UFC. People don't like him. People were happy when he got cut. People were saying, like, bye, Yair, you know, you don't want to fight Magomed-Sharapov, get out of here. It's kind of crazy how things have gone, but I got to agree with you. I got to go with youth. I got to go with athleticism. He's the much faster guy, and he's got a way better distance, distance management. He's going to just be kicking long-range distance kicks, long-range punches, and I feel like Korean Zombie, who's a guy that kind of just marches forward, doesn't cut off the angles particularly well, will get hit up. The only one issue I got is that it is a 5-round fight, and if we've seen anything with Yair is maybe the longer the fights go, once they figure him out, once they take his best shot, spot that he doesn't look so great. He didn't look great in the Bruce Leroy fight, which was his only other 5-rounder. And of course, Frankie, that's a different style altogether. But Korean Zombie's so tough, he's so durable. If the fight goes into a round 3, a round 4, a round 5, Korean Zombie's taking his best punches and he's walking them back, and this kid's slightly mentally fragile, and he appears to potentially be mentally fragile, then we got a problem on our hands. But the $7,700, you can't pass it up here, Rodriguez. I'm not saying playing him in every line, but I'm saying that's very good value, which would allow you to spend some money on some of your other picks and have a very solid guy that's got 5 rounds to deal with, could get a finish. You're right, ground game, even though Korean Zombie's got the twister and he's a pretty good grappler, Rodriguez is a crafty guy and he's opportunistic. And the fact that we haven't seen him in a long time, this guy's life has apparently been chaotic. He's been jumping from camp to camp to camp, different places. He doesn't get along with this guy, his wrestling coach. Remember in Chicago, it's like, it's always something with Yair. Maybe the time off, according to him, we're going to see a new Yair. You know, he's finally staying in one spot. And there's no denying the potential's there. So let's see the potential. Young guys don't come back shittier than before. They always come back a little bit better. Let's just hope it's good enough to beat Korean Zombie, who's been around the block, and I can't get behind him after the one fight over Bermuda's, not yet. Show me something against Yair, and we know he's all the way back, but I just can't buy it quite yet. So I got to agree with you, Yair Rodriguez, and the price is right.
Mike Perry takes on Donald Cowboy Cerrone. We got Mike Perry at 8,900 and Cerrone at 7,300. A betting line has Perry at 210 and plus 175 for Cerrone. Are we overrating Mike Perry considerably here? Like, it feels like that to me. It's not very long ago that he was taking on Max Griffin, got styled on against anybody who is a technical striker is able to style on these guys. And now I guess he got past Felder in his last fight. He won that fight.
55 short notice Felder, but go on.
Exactly, I know. But, you know, Donald Cowboy Cerrone also used to fight at 150.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, he looked good against Felder, but it's also a very advantageous fight for Mike Perry. But so I hear what you're saying.
I was talking with our producer Chad here before you showed up, and
Director Chad,
director, producer, whatever the title you want to give him. He does a lot of different things around here, and we appreciate it. Perry, I think, is just like, I think everybody at Jackson Wink, hell, we even know, how do you beat Donald? You get on him. You get on him fast. You pressure him. He's always been a slow starter. So, like, I think that is totally part of the game that Mike Perry is going to bring to the table here. But then what? Because if you don't put him away, once Cowboy gets comfortable in there, once Cowboy's taking your best shot, or at least taking your early onslaught, he starts to be able to piece you apart. Like, within 4 minutes of the fight, or 3-4 minutes of the fight, the tides may start to shift here. This could be a very good live betting opportunity if we get into round 2 and Cowboy hasn't seen the worst yet, and Cowboy got through it, loses round 1, maybe gets hurt a little bit in round 1, but you can kind of get the sense that the tides are turning. I think that could be a really good opportunity. So I don't hate Cerrone, 7,300 on DraftKings, like
77.
That's
is it a typo?
That's a typo because that's why I looked over to the screen, Cody.
Right. And that's why we have Director Chad. What's up?
That's why I looked over to the screen to read that, because I realized immediately that I had made the mistake.
I looked up to the Chang Sung Jung Yair Rodriguez files, and it's the same odds. Yeah. But yeah.
So,
yeah, $7,300 on strike.
7,300. Like, he just has to get through the first little bit. I know Mike Perry has fought into rounds 3 and stuff. He hasn't looked the worst, but he definitely slows down a bit. We saw that in the Santiago Ponzinibbio fight, that, you know, Ponzinibbio, the longer that fight went on, started to kind of gain control more and more and more. I think at the end of the day, Mike Perry, I'm not saying Mike Perry's a bad play on DraftKings. Like, if he gets this win, I think it's going to be an early onslaught. He's going to go after Cerrone. Cerrone's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. And it is what it is. And that gym knows more about Donald Cerrone than anybody else.
Yeah.
But I'm leaning towards Cerrone here. I think he's getting a little bit too disrespected. I think the hype on Mike Perry is... I think the betting odds are kind of reflecting a little bit of hype, and I don't think it's the technique and skill that he actually has. You know,
I've been bouncing back and forth on this fight, personally. I see the merit to both guys, no doubt about it. But my honest feelings are that the Mike Perry for $8,500 is worth...
89.
Sorry, 89 is worth it in that Mike Perry is generally a GPP kind of guy.
Yep.
Because he goes right after you. And we know with Donald Cerrone that the last time a big, strong guy went after him, Darren Till's got 1 first-round knockout in the last 4 years, 2 finishes in his 6 UFC wins, and he knocked out Donald Cerrone in 1 round. Give him no respect. Go at him. Mike Perry, coincidentally, boys with Darren Till. And he's got the same game plan of go in there with a hot head, get into Cerrone's head. Getting Cerrone's head seems very easy. You know, it's almost funny with Cerrone's record because you can look at the times that guys buddied with him in comparison to times that guys came at him. Pettis got in his head. Nate Diaz got in his head. Miles Jury, Eddie Alvarez, Benson Henderson, they all buddied with him. He wins those fights. But in recent memory, Jorge Masvidal, Darren Till, Leon Edwards, Robbie Lawler to a certain extent did not want to shake hands with this guy. They wanted to go in there and tear his head off, and all of them defeated him. Yancy Medeiros tried to buddy with him, and he beat him. Perry's going in there with a chip on his shoulder. He wants to make it a brawl. He wants to get a fast start. He wants to put hands on Donald Cerrone. I can see Mike Perry going out there, clipping Donald Cerrone early, bringing the heat to him and beating him. But that being said, Donald Cerrone's a way better fighter than Mike Perry. He's actually better than Mike Perry absolutely everywhere.
Agreed.
He's a much better wrestler. He's leaps and bounds better on the ground. And he's a much better technical striker.
Perry has power. Like,
and that's the crazy bitch about MMA. Perry's got power and a fucking hell of a chin. Whereas Donald Cerrone is viewed by some as potentially chinny. I don't think you're chinny when you're getting knocked out by Darren Till, who is a technical striker. George Masvidal, like, oh my God. Again, a guy with a low KO ratio percentage, and you look at his wins, mostly by decision. But they're so technical, they'll beat you. Perry's not technical like that. He's just got that big winging power. And you're right, it wasn't only that Max Griffin completely pieced this guy up. It's that Ponzinibbio was just way faster than him, way sharper, way technical. Alan Jouban just played with him the first 2 rounds until Perry tried to rally, and it was a little bit too late. But the reason why I then start flip-flopping a little bit on Mike Perry is that Donald Cerrone, he might be mind-fucking me, or he might already be defeated before this fight even happens, because he's giving Perry a lot of respect. He keeps saying, I know this guy's going to come after me, I know this guy's going to come after me. And he says the little things that bug me, you know, the little things like, I know that the fans want to see a stand-up battle. They want to see us go toe-to-toe. I want to kick this guy in the head. It's like, Donald, take him down. Remember the Alex Oliveira fight? And everyone's like, oh, cowboy versus cowboy. It's like, why would Donald Cerrone stand in front of a guy who's just going to chuck bombs? He just took him down. He submitted him like nothing. The guy's got takedowns on Rick Story. The guy's actually a pretty good wrestler. He could take down Mike Perry. But when you come out there with the game plan of, I want to give these fans in Denver, my hometown, an awesome show, and I want to stand up with this guy, well, that's creating a problem. The other thing he says that I don't particularly like is that win or lose, he's going back down to 55. He wants to chase the title at 55. He wants to go to 55. The fact that you've been at 170 for a little bit now, you've had some big wins at 170, you seem to be comfortable at 170, and you're talking about going to 55 before the fights even happen, you're making an excuse for the size advantage. The size advantage and the power advantage that Mike Perry is going to have. Yeah. So those little remarks make me think that maybe Perry's already in his head. And if Perry's in his head, that's where he operates the best. Now you bring in the variables. The variables being that Mike Perry's at Jackson Winklejohn, and they know the most about Donald Cerrone. The second variable being that Donald Cerrone doing the whole little train at Colorado a little bit, train at the BMF ranch, it didn't work for Lando Venata, that's for damn sure. And Ray Borg pulled out of the fight 3 days to the fight. It's like, what kind of vibes is BMF ranch thing going? What is going on there? So I can't fully say that I would bet Perry 210. I think that's a terrible price. It's just too much against Cerrone. Cerrone plus 175, worth a little poke. But as far as DK goes, yeah, the $7,300 Cerrone is worth it. But again, it's not bad play to go with Mike Perry, who's less than $9,000 and has a good chance of going out there and getting that first round knockout. So this is a very exciting, fun fight. If I had to pick one of them, I am going to take Mike Perry ever so slightly. But this is mostly a stay-away fight.
Off, essentially.
Yeah, it's a stay-away fight, but the price is so intriguing that you're going to have some shares.
GPPs, like 8,900, like he
brings it.
I'm not going to be shocked if he starches him in the first round.
Even if, yeah.
If he wins by decision, I'd try to be more surprised.
I'd be more surprised about that.
Exactly. So like 8,900, like that, you're getting a guy who is going to probably do. He's at least going for the game plan that you want as an owner or rostering him. But Cerrone at his 73, like I think you should have some access to this.
I agree.
Yeah, no, dude.
Sides, honestly,
especially if you're making lots of lineups.
Cerrone's a wicked good value, to be quite honest.
We have Jermaine Durandamy taking on Raquel Pennington. Durandamy is 8,800 on DraftKings, minus 170 favorite. Raquel Pennington is 7,400 and plus 150. Randamie is like, oh my god. We were talking about Yair Rodriguez having like a tough year.
This whole card's had a tough year, dude.
Everyone here has had a tough year. Jermaine Randamie wins against Holly Holm, gets the featherweight title. They ask her to fight Cyborg. She's just like, no, I'm hurt.
Yeah.
No, I'm hurt. I can't do it. And like that was the most bizarre transfer of a title. It's got to be in UFC history. Like so crazy. So, but at the end of the day, she beat Holly Holm. She beat Holly Holm on the feet.
Did she?
She had some. She had a little bit, a few strikes after the bell.
Yeah, and it was a close ass fight. To be honest with you, that was a good fight. Now, mind you, a good fight.
It was a close fight. I had bet Holm.
Remember when
I thought it was razor. I didn't really have too many complaints. I didn't think I got robbed, but I would have preferred to have won my bets with the Holly Holm bets. But.
No, I remember that night because I got double screwed, killing the entire card, coming down right to the wire, and Derek Brunson loses the decision to Anderson Silva, which I still don't understand. And then Holly Holm lost to Jermaine Randamie, and I was like, fuck this card. Terrible card.
Raquel Pennington isn't actually good.
Raquel Pennington, you're talking about close fights with Holly Holm. She once upon a time had a close fight with Holly Holm too.
Yeah. I think, obviously grappling, Raquel probably has the advantage, or definitely has the advantage here. I just don't know if she's going to be able to implement that game plan and get the takedowns. Jermaine has the striking acumen to, if they're on the feet, to piece up Rocky, who's super, super tough and durable. This is not a fight that I'm overly excited about on DraftKings. And I like Jermaine, but she losing the title, all of these other things. You know that she's a cop on like the side when she's over in Holland. Like she's not a full-time fighter. I'm really struggling. Like I like her to win. I'm just struggling to take out my wallet to do anything about it with this fight. What's your take?
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of got to go the other way. I think this fight, to me, is a dog or pass situation. Jermaine Randamie, has been off for a really long time, considering that she beat Holly Holm early 2017. So we're almost 2 full years that she's been off, and she's 34 years old now. She was kind of a little bit older to begin with. Mm-hmm. She's a full-on kickboxer. We don't really know how much better her wrestling's got. The last time we've seen her on the ground, she's terrible. But once upon a time, that was a long time ago. So how much better has she gotten? I'm not fully sure. But looking at the mentality of it, right? You move up to 145, you fight Holly Holm, you become the first ever women's featherweight champion. You're the Iron Lady. You're something like 39-0 as a pro kickboxer. You're going to fight Cyborg, who doesn't have a kickboxing background, but is a good MMA striker. Could take you down, be the smart thing to do. But it's being billed as an amazing striker versus an amazing striker. And she wants nothing to do with that fight, Paul. Maybe she's hurt, maybe she's not. But she makes it very clear, I don't want to fight her. At first she's saying, I don't want to fight her because she's failed a drug test. Whatever. Alistair Overeem failed a drug test. He's back. People fight him. It is what it is. You have to fight Chris Cyborg. No, don't want to fight her. Then, oh, I'm hurt. Finally, it's like, you know what? You're stripped. Back of the pecking order. She's back down to 135 now. I mean, like, that fight at 145 was literally a one-time go. It makes no sense. And she's sharp in her striking exchanges with Holly Holm. She's got the big power, especially for the division, the big right hand. And you know, you can make the argument that the 2 times that she stuns Holly Holm is after the bell. So minus those 2 big shots. If she doesn't land the big shot at the end of the first round, Holly Holm's probably a little bit better in that second round. A little bit better is probably enough to win that second round anyways. It's just a close, kind of sloppy fight. When I look at this fight, I think Raquel Pennington can rough her up. Raquel Pennington can push her up against, you know, again, when we're talking about the whole Korean Zombie versus Yair Rodriguez, and it's just like you're only as good as your last fight. Jermaine Randamie, it looks good because her last fight was against Holly Holm, and she won the title. Whereas Raquel Pennington's last fight, oh, she tried to quit after the 4th round. Oh, she's a quitter. Everything, the narrative that people want to throw at her.
Shouldn't have had the title fight in the first place. Like, she wasn't in that. She's She's not of that caliber.
She's not of that caliber, and she, quite frankly, made it to the 5th round, which is a success in its own. And yeah, she was outgunned. It is what it is. She was coming off a long layoff. When you look at her fight with Miesha Tate, she roughs you up. She can rough you up from the clinch. She can bully you. She can push you back. She can be aggressive. She scored takedowns in her career. She's, you know, even though Jessica Andrade now fights at 115, you know, she can out-muscle strong fighters. I think that if she goes out there and roughs up Germaine de Randamie, that's the key to victory. Randamie versus Holly Holm was a striking match. Randamie's 2 opponents before fighting Holly Holm. Shocking. Larissa Pacheco, who was like 21 at the time, terrible, currently on The Ultimate Fighter, and Anna Elmos. I think that tells you everything you need to know. Prior to that, she fought Amanda Nunes.
2 people who could end up on your Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, a female worst ever. And prior to that, she fought Amanda Nunes. She lasted approximately 3.5 minutes. She got taken down and blown out with elbows in the very first round. She's not good on the ground. She's a kickboxer. She's had the luxury of fighting 2 terrible fighters and Holly Holm that engaged her in a kickboxing match. If Raquel Pennington goes out there with a game plan of rough this girl up, take this girl down, try to submit her or just pound her on the ground, I think she can do it. And I think she's got a little bit more in the tank. She'll be able to use that pressure game. Quite frankly, like I said, it's dog or pass. She's a plus 150 underdog over Germaine de Randamie, who you don't know what you were getting, quite frankly. And the $7,400, it's not as lucrative because it could be a grinding affair that goes 3 rounds. A lot of
cage work doesn't really score.
Yeah, but Germaine de Randamie on her back is a fish out of water. So don't rule it. You see it in Bellator a lot because Bellator signs a lot of these kickboxers, and you think, oh fuck, man, they're a really good kickboxer, and then they get taken down over some local Kansas scrub.
Subbed like a
dude, almost all the time. But we don't really see it at the UFC level. Germaine de Randamie, she's not above that, and this is that kind of fight. So the value is certainly there. You could take Yair, Donald Cerrone, or Raquel Pennington.
And then take anybody else.
If you take all 3, then yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying you could intermingle them and you've got a shot, and they could all definitely pay up to their value.
I'm going to still side with Germaine, but I won't be playing her on DraftKings, and I won't be touching the 170. Either way, we got Beneil Dariush taking on Thiago Moises. Beneil Dariush is 8,700 on DraftKings, minus 145 favorite. Moises is 7,500 plus 125. What is your take here?
You know, Beneil Dariush, how times have been tough on poor Beneil. This guy looked like a fringe contender, no doubt about it. He's got all the skills. When you're looking at a fighter that, like, okay, how good's his stand-up? Dude, nasty. That, you know, that southpaw stance, that left body kick, you know, hands aren't so bad. The way he carves up a natural striker like Darren Cruikshank standing, amazing. How's his ground game? World class. Black belt. Guys won world championships. How's his wrestling? Dude, super serviceable. Cardio seems there. It's that he's taken a tremendous amount of damage, especially over his last 3, where he's winless over his last 3.
You fight at 155, you're gonna eventually you go through the meat grinder, and it's tough, man.
It's the meat grinder. And you look at his last, Michael Chiesa, James Vick, Rashid Magomedov, Edson Barbosa, Evan Dunham, to a lesser extent Alexander Hernandez, but all those prior guys.
Alexander Hernandez belongs in the conversation with them.
Turns out he does.
It turns out we didn't know that at the time, but he looks like somebody to watch out for moving forward too.
Exactly, but sometimes with these guys, they've got all the skills, and maybe they've just taken a little bit of damage, and you got to worry about them. And I think case in point, I kind of got burned on this, was Chris Weidman. We talked about Chris Weidman last week, and that he wins the early portions of these fights. He's winning against Yoel Romero. He's winning against Mousasi. He's winning against Luke Rockhold. And yeah, he was winning this past weekend as well. Unfortunately, just like the cumulative damage has really built up on him. With Edson Barbosa, you gotta wonder with Beneil Dariush, you gotta wonder because the Edson Barbosa knockout, dude, it was bad. Flying knee, KO City, bad knockout. The Evan Dunham fight, he starts off well, but then durability kind of becomes a question. Evan Dunham, he's a tough guy. He's blue collar. He's workmanlike. He kind of grinds on him, and you got to wonder with Beneil again. And then that last fight with Hernandez, unheralded, and it's not just you got stopped in the first round. It's like it was a nasty KO. It was a forearm to the face that just absolutely dropped him. So he's coming into this fight, and he is better everywhere than Thiago Moises. Thiago Moises is 23 years old. He's young. Where is he good? On the ground. He's a black belt. Not going to submit Beneil Dariush. I know Chiesa did. Again, not going to submit Beneil Dariush. If it stays standing, Dariush has got to have the advantage. And quite frankly, Moises' wrestling's not very good whatsoever. His last loss a couple years ago against Robert Watley, and Watley's proven in the PFL, where he's currently in the lightweight tournament, he's not very good, man, to be perfectly honest with you. Moises used to fight at 45, a little big for 45, fights at 55 now, a little small for 55. I feel like Beneil Dariush just kind of has him outgunned everywhere. It just comes back to the mindset or where Beneil Dariush is at. He's 30 now. He's a little bit into the game. I think there's way too much rebuilding involved for him getting back to championship status, back to contender status, that you got to wonder, a guy that's as smart as he is, and you and I both know how sharp Beneil Dariush is, at what point does he just become a coach? At what point does he just open up his own gym? At what point does he start looking at other options in life? But the UFC was actually doing him a huge favor here. They were saying, Beneil, we know you've had a rough year. Paul keeps talking about guys that have had bad years. Dude, you have had a bad year. You haven't won a fight since Magomedov, and that was 2 years ago. You know what? Here's Chris Grutzmacher. Yeah, I look good against Joe Lozon, but we both know you're going to kill Chris Grutzmacher. Grutzmacher gets hurt, and now on what, 2 weeks' notice, you're going to bring in a 23-year-old Thiago Moises? You know, he trains at ATT. He's a serviceable fighter, but he's going to get outgunned, especially if it becomes a clinch war, which I think Beneil Dariush will do because he doesn't want to take the damage standing. So give me Beneil Dariush. As far as the price tag goes, $8,700, way too much.
Yeah, it's
but
tough.
the minus 145 is actually
tough,
pretty good. So I would take the 45.
The line's actually been moving towards, like, people are jumping on Moises, which I was really surprised by. Like, I thought the lines was going to go the other way.
Listen, the last time that we backed Beneil Dariush over a young, unheralded prospect, he got dusted. So maybe people are kind of banking on the same thing. But
he got dusted at like minus 350 in that spot.
So now people have learned their lesson.
Now it's not as painful if you lose a unit.
Yeah, I wouldn't play him on DK, but I think he gets the win here. I really do.
We got Macy Barber taking on Hannah CIFERS. Macy Barber is 9,400 on DraftKings, minus 400 favorite. CIFERS is 6,800. Plus 325. Barber was on Dana White Contender Series, beat Jamie Colleen, which is basically meaningless. She's young. She looks like she has a lot of talent and ability, but she's super, super green still. They gave her a contract essentially because it's so thin in these divisions. I'm not saying that this girl is awful and has no potential moving forward, but it's a long climb, but I think they gave her a suitable opponent to roll through here. I think she's from Barber is from like the Denver area as well.
Fort Collins, yeah.
Yeah, so it all kind of adds up, makes sense. It's just she's like 19 or 20. She's 20 years old. She wants to be the youngest UFC champion of all time and beat John Jones's record. Good on her. Maybe she gets there because this division is so thin that what I'm saying is that maybe with the division as relatively thin, it's 115.
You know what? You're right.
Who would kill her though is Tatiana. Would absolutely.
I was just gonna say. I was like, I envision a world where Macy Barber could. With a little bit more time, could beat Rose Namajunas. I could actually, in a crazy world, I could see it. I do not see her being Tatiana Suarez or Jessica Andrade for that matter. No. I just think those are bad matchups, and that's why the path to the title has got to be perfect. For
sure, but what we see with these young talents that come in, like let's look at Sage. We always bring up Sage because he's kind of the poster boy for this, and it's been a rocky road. You come in. The hype is super real. The hype is massive. They put minus 500, minus 600, minus 700 tags next to your name.
Yeah.
And eventually you're going to falter when you're going to take on somebody with a lot more experience, a lot more grind, somebody who's been into so many different situations, so many spots in the fight game, and they're able to fight out of it. I think they've set her up with a win here. But minus 400, like, there's still so many holes in this girl's game that, like, I think you're taking on a lot of risk by betting that. And 9,400, like, with Jamie Colleen, she went to round 3. Maybe she would have scored well. She got some takedowns and stuff. But, like, Jamie Colleen had no business at this level either. So, the fact that it went to round 3, it wasn't really a glowing performance, in my opinion, that I saw from her. I saw, like, potential, but I don't think she's ready for this level. This is just a stay away all around for me.
Yeah, well, Barber's supposed to roll here, and I think she does roll here. So $9,400, it's expensive, absolutely, but if she goes out there and thrashes this girl, which she has every capability of doing, I think you said it yourself, they set her up here to look good. You mentioned Sage Northcutt kind of being the poster boy for this, but really you can use the practicality of the same division and the same kind of route as that Paige Van Zandt. Paige Van Zandt's the same thing. Macy Barber, sometimes look good depending on the picture, but she is not a good looking gal. But she's the real deal. She's only 20 years old. Give her 5 years and she's going to be set. This is a girl that knows how good she is and she really puts in the effort. She travels all around Colorado. She goes to different gyms. She's done some time at Jackson Winklejohn. She's willing to do whatever necessary to go to the next level. But her coach is my boy, Ryan the Lion Schultz, IFL veteran, thrashed Chris Hordecki, the man. Ryan Schultz would have been some degree world champion if it wasn't for the one small fact, Paul Shaughnessy, that he could not take a punch. Outside of that, Ryan Schultz was a ground master. Guy wrestled at a pretty high level in college, comes to MMA, takes guys down, and absolutely thrashes them. What he did to Chris Hordecki was before its time. He's her head coach, and he's got her pinpoint on the ground. And when you talk about she's got holes in her game, absolutely. Most of this division's got holes in their game. Most of this division's got holes in the game on the ground. And when I look at her opponent, Hannah CIFERS here, Hannah CIFERS got 2 pro losses. Her last one being a second round rear naked choke loss that she against Jillian Robertson. Now, Jillian Robertson, not so bad, but is a ground specialist. And I don't think she's on the level of Macy Barber. I think Macy Barber gets this girl down and she smashes her. She looked good in the Contender Series. Why else do you give a girl who's 20 years old a contract? Well, she's a little bit marketable. She's looked tremendous at the LFA shows. She's looked good on the regional scene. Let's bring her in. She's got a good, hey, we're in Colorado. Let's get the crowd super fired up. Why is this 20-year-old girl even this high up on the card anyways? Let's give them an exciting show. CIFERS is not a girl that was on the roster anyways. CIFERS is not a girl that won on Dana White's Contender Series as well. She's literally being brought in specifically for this one fight.
Yeah.
And her only other loss prior to this, Heather Jo Clark. So.
Friends don't let friends bet on people who lost to Heather Jo Clark.
So all I'm saying is Barber is expensive, -400, no doubt. But yeah, she's being set up to roll here, and I feel better betting on someone like that than Paige Van Zandt back in the day. Paige Van Zandt back in the day was being set up to win, but didn't look like she really had the goods. So could beat that low level and then eventually got exposed. Macy Barber is super young, so you don't rush her too quickly. But they're doing the same thing, only I think she's got a much better base. This girl is good on the ground. She's very scrappy. She's got heart. She's not going to try to quit in front of this hometown crowd here. I think she gets the win. And though it is expensive,
I think she gets the win as well.
Though she's expensive,
Price, though.
I could see her just taking this girl down, mounting her, mauling her, because it's a low weight class, lots of ground transitions when they fight. There's a lot of movement, and she might just eat her up and score big. So keep your eye on her. If you're going to play multiple lineups, she's worth having on some of them anyways.
We have Luis Pena taking on Michael Trizano, sorry. We have Pena is 9,300 on DraftKings. Massive line movement on this one. It was -270 last night. Now it's -185. Something's up. Trizano is 6,900 and +160. Where are we missing here? What happened? They get moved like 100 points overnight. That's kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, but I've come to realize
none of these other fights, because I always said, as I said last week, I make the odds boards, and then they simmer overnight, and then I update the odds before exporting them and before you see them on our lovely YouTube video feed here. Most of these lines didn't even move. Nobody's betting on it. This one moves 100 points. Something's fishy.
Yeah, I've come to realize over the years that I don't think it matters. First and foremost, I had Tae-Yun Bang over Leo Kuntz. And when that line moved, I was like, cocksucker, I'm fucked, right? And boom, doesn't matter. Leo Kuntz ended up losing that fight anyways. So, okay, no problem. And then the Mark Hunt versus Alexei Olenek fight. That one was off. And it was right before fight time and in Russia. So that one, very clear. Multiple red flags there. And then last week, I was all over Cormier at 7-1. And it moved to 4-1.
That one makes sense, though.
Why does that make sense?
Because everyone parlayed up all of these big favorites.
It happened earlier. It happened earlier.
People were back hedging.
That was way too much of a line change. That's way too much of a line change. I think it would have to do with like people like hedging, basically. So people were putting money on Derek Lewis. Or the books had just already decided. They're like, listen, these guys are going to want to hedge, but we're not going to give them the odds that they see right now on their hedge on the back end. We're just going to start moving because we know all of these guys with like 3-piece parlays or that have bet this thing all the way, when they get to the main event, they're going to hedge out, or they're going to bet Lewis to at least get some, or to guarantee profit on the back end. So we're just going to take away.
I'm no lines maker. I'm no bookmaker. I don't set any of these things, but that would be my mentality for what happened there.
I would take the guess that because there wasn't a whole lot of money being distributed, particularly over that period of time, especially on that fight, that if TRIZANO's family member put 10,000 on him straight up, it would move the line that much. That would be my take on it. But regardless of that, it's a tough fight, and being that when you talked about Macy Barber, you talked about that they're still green, right? So even though this looks like a hype prospect and it looks like a good prospect, they could get exposed at some point because we just haven't seen all the different angles. Luis Pena and actually for the most part Michael TRIZANO are in the exact same position here. TRIZANO looks like a slick grappler, looks like a good grappler, but he's green, dude. What other skills does he have? Luis Pena was probably the favorite to win the season of The Ultimate Fighter, and he fractures his foot. It is what it is. He comes back, he looks fantastic against Richie Smullen, who's dog shit awful. Yeah. And don't put him on your Mount Rushmore because he's only had one fight in the UFC, but, you know, he was pretty bad. So it's hard to get a perfect read on them. But from the tape, it looks like Pena's just a much slicker striker. I do see this fight mostly taking part.
6'3" at 155 too, which is massive.
Exactly. And whereas you see a lot of guys that they've got that size, they've got that range, they've got that distance, and they're a little bit herky-jerky because, you know, like a tall basketball player, when you grow and you don't fully understand it yet, it takes you a little bit of time to develop. But this guy looks slick, he looks athletic, and being that he's at American Kickboxing Academy, these guys are on fire right now, man. Like, you've got to admit, there's something in the water, and I don't mean steroids-wise. I mean, these guys are on a different level. I get Khabib's a grappler.
Is the best in the world right now.
It's a world-class gym, right? So they know what they're getting themselves into. This probably should have been the finale of The Ultimate Fighter. What we ended up getting was TRIZANO and Jannetty, and that was a close split decision, right? So I don't think Jannetty was on his level, and I don't think TRIZANO was on his level. And I think Pena gets the win here. Am I super confident in it? No, because at the end of the day, he's a 6-0 Italian guy who's living in the States. So I don't know. But looking at the limited tape and the little bit of stuff that we have on him, he looks just like he's going to be the better fighter. Keeps this fight standing, exposes the fact that TRIZANO really isn't a striker. Yeah. He's more of a grappler, you know, picks him off standing.
And hey, if you're going to be at a gym and you have to learn how to sprawl and brawl and get out of the way of some takedown attempts.
Dude, of course.
Is there a better gym on earth
than
AKA with all the heathens and animals running around those parts? Than that place to work on that skill. So
yeah, no, I agree. And with TRIZANO, he's a Tiger Schulman guy, so it's almost like, why wasn't this guy with a full Tiger Schulman card? Lyman Good, all of his training partners all being on the same card, Julio Arce, but you know, it's a mixed result thing. What we did see is a lot of those guys kind of just wanted to strike for the most part. Burgos looked good on the ground, but TRIZANO kind of got shifted off to the side here. It's a close fight. It's a close fight. But I think I'm going to have to go with Pena, who's another one of these prospects that people are talking about. And he's got a sweet little gimmick with the whole violent Bob Ross. I think the UFC knows they can market this guy. So, oh, sorry, kid, you didn't win the Ultimate Fighter. You know what we'll do for you? We'll give you the winner of the Ultimate Fighter. And then, you know, at least in the general public's mind, you were the best guy in that season. And we can develop you and move you through your career. But it is a stiff enough test. So we'll see what happens.
So this next fight, we have Ashley Yoder taking on Amanda Bobby Cooper. Yoder is 8,600 on DraftKings, minus 160 favorite. And Cooper is 7,600 and plus 140. What really first came to mind here, maybe we can talk about this at the end, how they have ended the flyweight division. So we have a 5-4 fighter taking on a 4-4 fight. This is the crap that we are watching.
Instead UFC lied about that. She's 3-4. You know that they do that all the time.
Dude, I just take off. I don't even care about the record.
But she's one of the very few under 500 fighters in the UFC.
Sure, and I don't even know where they find that. It's probably off the Ultimate Fighter that they gave her the other win or something like that. Who cares? We get rid of the flyweight division, and we're watching this stuff. What the hell? Like, this doesn't have... I love the flyweight division. I know some people don't like it. They like watching Derek Lewis just try to club somebody. And, hey, there's different parts of MMA for different people. But, like, people who, like, enjoy watching the martial arts and stuff, flyweight division's awesome. The guys were super fast. They never gassed. Super technical. It's like the most talented guys on earth were those little guys. And now they're all going... elsewhere, where hopefully like ONE FC kind of signs a whole whack of them and they actually kind of continue that division over there. I'm not sure what they're going to do, but...
Personally, I think you've got a sour, biased opinion on the subject, Paul Shaughnessy.
Why?
Why don't you come out in the clean? We all know why you're upset with the flyweights leaving. We all know why you're upset.
I don't even know why.
Because now your great proclamation that someday Justin Scoggins would be a UFC champion is in the fucking dump.
I don't think he got cut yet.
He did get cut.
Did he get cut? Was he on the list?
Apparently, he agreed to step up on this card at 135 pounds against Mark De La Rosa. And then basically, and I've had this happen before with the whole Alex Ricci thing. You remember that? Mm-hmm. By the time you answer, yeah, we'll take the fight, they found somebody else. And in this case, they had found Joby Sanchez. They're like, sorry, we don't need you. And then cut him.
Wow.
The greasiest,
well, now I'm actually more
dirtiest
triggered
move,
than
man.
I was before you told me
Yeah,
that.
I'm sorry I had to break it to you like this.
Oh, God.
You know what? We got to go back and listen to the tape. Because you may have said Justin Scoggins will someday be a flyweight champion. And then, he's got a way better chance of going winning one elsewhere, you know? Bellator either just acquired a sweet division or one FC.
Well, so
they're not going to KSW
wrap it up.
or
I'm
M1
just super bummed now. So
yeah, I'm real sorry. And now we got to go back to talking about Yoder versus Cooper. Oh shit! Now I'm super bummed.
Yoder at least looked good against Mackenzie Dern. Like she
gave her a go.
She probably won the fight. She had the much better striking. It was all the LOLs when Amanda Cooper got completely flatlined, knocked out in the first round against Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah,
that was bad.
She got choked out, but she got dropped, which was considering the amount of shit she knocked out.
All she had to do was a couple little follow-up punches. She could have, but you know she's smart. Go grab that back at the choke. But the line makes sense. It's minus 160. It's just do you really have much confidence in this spot? Like Cooper may, I think the stand-up may be competitive. Cooper finds a way to get choked out in most of her losses.
Dude, that's
and it's
the
whether
one issue.
It's whether Yoder can take her down to the ground.
That's
have
entirely what this fight comes down to.
And I don't know if I'm confident enough in Yoder's takedown abilities that she's able to get it there. But Yoder would be my pick, begrudgingly. Yeah.
Well, the thing with Amanda Cooper is that she is, and you talked about it at the top of the show, a lot of untrustworthy people.
Yeah.
She's ridiculously untrustworthy.
Absolutely.
Because she's got the goods, man. She really does. She's not a bad striker, you know, comes from an amateur boxing background, had success at the amateur level, decent kicking game. Wrestling's not terrible, although she seems to end up on her back more times than not when her opponent actually wants to take it to the ground. Grappling okay at a low level. These upper echelon girls, they're going to get her. But yeah, dude, if she fights somebody terrible like Anna Elmo or Angela Magana, she's going to beat them.
Sure.
She fights somebody half decent like Cynthia Calvillo, your girl Tatiana Suarez, Mackenzie Dern. It's too much for her. Ashley Yoder is
right in the middle.
She's right in the middle. She's not Anna Elmos. No. She's not Angela Magana. She beats those two handily. But she loses to the aforementioned Tatiana Suarez. She loses to Cynthia Calvillo. She loses to those girls as well. So she's kind of that in between. So it's how much do you trust Amanda Bobby Cooper? Amanda Bobby Cooper's got a 3-4 record, man. That puts her in the UFC amongst the worst records on the active roster. The thing that she's got going for her is that she's in the same category as Artem Lobov and Mark Hunt, who are pretty much the greatest fighters of all time. So records don't mean shit-ita. Could you get the job done here? Yeah, but she always seems to have this slip on a banana peel and get choked out thing to her. And whether the Dern fight, we know, listen, Dern cannot wrestle. So you can counter wrestle and you claim you're a much better striker. On paper, you are leaps and bounds a better striker. Strike with this girl, piece her up, but just no ability. She gets dropped and then gets choked out. It's like you were saying, it's like she just finds a way to lose. And that's the problem with Yoder, is that Yoder's a brown belt. She competed actually at a decently high level in jiu-jitsu. She didn't look out of place against girls like Mackenzie Dern. And quite frankly, she's always she's a Team Quest girl. Dan Henderson, the whole lads, Chris Curtis, Sam Alvey, that Dan Henderson Ultimate Training Center. She's a tough girl. She comes forward, she's rugged, she gets hit a lot, but she closes the distance, she grapples you, she gets you to the ground, she makes it happen. I don't know why I'm going to take one more shot on Amanda Cooper. I know why I'm taking a shot on Cooper, because this card is largely dog or pass. Yair Rodriguez is the dog. I'm going to take him. Donald Cerrone is the dog. I know I said I'm taking Perry, and I don't want a whole lot of practice, but plus 175 at $7,300? God damn, that's enticing. Raquel Pennington, that's a dog or pass for me. I'll take Dariush. I'll take Barber. I'll take Pena. But this is another dogger pass, this Yoder versus Cooper. And I know I've lost money on Cooper in the past. I don't know why, considering that the girls that have fought her are largely better than her, and you can see that shit coming. I give her too much credit, and she underperforms. And you hate losing money on someone that underperforms. But one of these days, she's going to take on those mid and low-level girls, and she thrives against them. And maybe Yoder's in that category. So give me Cooper on the basis that she is faster, she's more technical standing, and I just think finally, hopefully, she ties the kind of game plan together that involves not slipping and getting choked out, because that is another possible option. As far as the price tag goes, no way. Even at $7,600, I don't really want it. Plus 140, we'll see. And the 8,600 on Yoder, like, I don't know, dude. Like, yeah, the submission could be an option. It could be. And if it is, it would pay. But that's a lot of money for that what if. So pass on that part.
Sure. We got SKELLY taking on Bobby Moffett. SKELLY 8,400 on DraftKings. He's actually the slight underdog. It's pretty much a pick 'em. He's minus 105, and Bobby Moffett is minus 115. Bobby Moffett on DraftKings is 7,800. I'm actually kind of surprised here. Maybe I'm missing something. I actually thought Chaz would be maybe up in the realm of like minus 150, minus 160. Considerable bigger favorite here. He's obviously fought the much higher level of competition along the way. He has slipped when he takes on guys of a top 15-ish area, but I haven't seen anything from Bobby Moffett to make me believe that he's there. And yeah, before any pricing or anything like that, I kind of thought SKELLY would be a good opportunity on this one, and I'm surprised by where the line is at this point. What's your, maybe I'm missing something. Do you have any hot takes here?
Yeah, no, again, I think it's another case of just trustworthiness, really. I think SKELLY should be, he's definitely the more experienced fighter. I mean, it's certainly on paper, seems like he's got the better skills. I mean, he's got that AIA. Yeah, why do I screw that up? Anyways, junior college All-American. He's a guy that's wrestled at a decent level. Team takedown guy, gets recruited, trains there. Wrestling's good. Good jiu-jitsu, good scrambles, good submission game. We've seen him just go out there and just throw hands with guys. And even though his striking leaves a little bit to the imagination, this guy can strike. He's got power. He's got a willingness to go out there. Milson Sousa, Jim Ehlers. Like, these are all fights that he shows a lot of grit in. His fight with Chris Grutzmacher, Maximo Blanco, who he just completely blows out. These are some big wins for SKELLY. Looks like the skill's there. Looks like the goods are there. But it almost like he's regressing. Like, he went to the Black Zillions for a bit, and then I think now he's still with Henry Hoof and the crew. But I don't know, man. Like, his striking hasn't really seemed to get that much better. And the Jason Knight fight was a situation of Knight's just one of those scrappy, in-your-face, tough guys. SKELLY was more technical than him. SKELLY was definitely a better wrestler than him. And SKELLY's a good enough grappler just to not get caught by Knight's little guard game. But literally, he fell victim to all those things. He wrestled himself right into the guard game. When he was striking, he was getting tagged up. He didn't like it. And then after that fight, he proceeds to take a 1.5 years off. So now we got SKELLY coming back a little bit older. Don't know if ring rust is going to be an issue for him. We don't know if his skills have really even marginally improved. The thing that kind of makes you nervous about Bobby Moffett is this guy's an MMA lab guy, and they're always prepared, man. They're always ready. Name me an MMA lab guy recently.
Mackenzie Dern.
No, they kicked her out of the gym because of laziness. I know. How? But think
But when she took on Yoder, she was still training out of that gym, I believe.
No, the only one is Jeremy Kimball. He's the only guy that's ever showed up.
You love Jeremy Kimball.
We called the last one finally, but Jeremy Kimball was the one guy. But anyways, Mackenzie Dern, there's a world-class fighter. Certainly one of the best jiu-jitsu fighters in the division. Certainly got the credentials. Big prospect. UFC's behind her. Marketing machine's behind her. Seems to be a fan favorite, lover or hater. John Crouch kicks this girl out of his gym. How many coaches would do that? Why would you do that? Literally a couple weeks later, she misses weight. Like, this guy's on point. This guy knows laziness. This guy gets his guys ready. If you look at the last couple of MMA lab fighters that have been underdogs, I believe on UFC cards, you've got Scott Holtzman as an underdog over Alan Patrick, and he looks awesome, and he cashes as a nice underdog. And then last weekend, Jared Cannonier over Dave Branch, another guy, 2.5 to 1 underdog, coming out of the MMA lab. I made the mistake. Oh, he's getting moved up 2 weeks early. How's the weight cut going to go? The guy was in tremendous shape.
Jim's on a heater.
He had a tremendous game plan, and that's the thing. SKELLY, I figured it out. What's SKELLY's issue? Kept thinking, what is his issue? He's got bad ring IQ, man. He wrestles when he maybe should strike. He strikes when he should maybe wrestle. He doesn't tie it together. He's another, similar to an Amanda Cooper. He's got the skills there, but there's lapses. There's lapses where his opponent takes advantage. Moffett's got a slick grappling game. He's actually a decent wrestler. He trains with world-class gym of just tough guys that got a very similar style to Chaz Skelly. Who's getting you ready for this fight? Benson Henderson and Brian Barberena. And like, it's all there for Bobby Moffett. So if he was a bigger underdog, I would be willing to take the poke on him, but he's a favorite. And that would make me want to say this is another dog or pass fight, but they're basically even, so there's nothing to be really had from that. So I'm going to pass. And as far as the $8,400 on Chaz Skelly, that I'm passing on. $7,800 on Bobby, very, very good little proposition, but considering I can have Yair for 77, Donald for 73, Raquel for 74, we talked about Amanda Cooper 76. There's so much value elsewhere on this card that this isn't one of the ones that I run to, but I do recognize that there is some value there if he can get it done. He's sub 8,000.
We have Davi Ramos taking on the GOAT, John Gunther. Davi Ramos is 9,500 and a minus 1,000 favorite. Gunther is plus 650, 6,700. If you're John Gunther, interesting character. By interesting, I mean like kind of just straight up crazy. Like I saw watching an interview with this guy the other day. Like this guy's living off.
Not so.
He's living off in La La Land. That's fine. This is a weird sport. You're allowed to be a little bit crazy. He's got a win over Devontae Smith, who we'll talk about in the next fight,
knocked him out, which
is pretty impressive. He obviously has the. He's listed as 7-1 here on something like Tapology. He'll be listed 7-0 because his loss to Giannetti on the Ultimate Fighter, which was really bad ring IQ, by the way. He just goes in there, doesn't protect his neck, gets choked out by a guy.
So what do you think's gonna happen here?
Exactly.
His own accord, he was like, I told my jiu-jitsu buddies about this fight, and they were all like, "Oh, you're dead. Like, he's going to kill you." His own accord.
I know. I watched that interview.
Hilarious.
The line on Ramos seems a little bit crazy. I'm not sure. Maybe you can pull it up while we're doing this. Like Ramos by submission, probably the play. If it's good enough. I just don't know what the line is off the top of my head. You have a computer in front of you. I don't.
Well, all the same.
That's what's probably going to happen. That's the most likely results of this fight.
Yeah, I hear you. The prop for TKO for Ramos was plus 700, but I think it's kind of come down a little bit because people are hammering it. But that's under the assumption that he like triangle mounts this guy and punches him out from there. You know, like he'd have to have him in like one of those really compromising situations.
If he gets him to the ground, he probably just grabs a limb and goes on his way.
Yeah, but you never know because sometimes they'll just decide to punch it out. Although Mickey Gall versus CM Punk had the submission prop on Gall, and he could have just punched him out. But grapplers have a natural instinct of as soon as you give them that one huge opportunity, they'll just choke you out. Yeah. And if that's the case, Davi Ramos should just choke him out. Yeah, this fight's not even really worth breaking down. Because Davi Ramos, unless there's a conspiracy theory to be had, but Davi Ramos is better than John Gunther literally anywhere this fight would take place. If it stays standing, he's honestly much better than him standing. As far as his wrestling goes, I'm not a huge fan of it, but he's a strong guy. He's a big guy, Davi Ramos, so he's a physical guy. I think he should be able to just muscle him to the ground. And the second the fight does hit the ground, I think he just submits him. I think it's very simple. Gunther's really only good thing about his game is his ability to take guys down and kind of wear them up from up top. You know, when he's standing, he's kind of pushing his punches. He's not the most athletic guy. He's not exactly, his footwork's not very great, but he can take guys down. He can grind them. But you can't take Davi Ramos down and grind them because, quite frankly, better men than you have tried and they've come up short. John Gunther is a poor man's version of Chris Grutzmacher, who's a poor man's version of a lot of the Jim Miller type guys in the UFC. But he's bottom of the barrel of a grinder type guy. And I just really don't see it happening here. The only one time I've ever seen anything like this, if it's to be an upset, is Matt Horowitz is batshit crazy. Very similar to John Gunther. In fact, a lot more batshit crazy than John Gunther. Has a terrible record, near 500, IFL vet, my boy. And he choked out Talasletis in a fight before Talasletis came back to the UFC, where you're choking out a world champion black belt. How did this happen? But Matt Horowitz is one of a kind. He takes your back, it's fucking game over. It's like Drew Fickett. Takes your back, you could beat him 9 out of 10 times. But if he's up on your back, you're done. Gunther's not that guy. I don't see how he wins this fight. I do not see it. So Davi Ramos probably styles him. And where, yes, he's $9,500, you're going to take him. You're going to take Macy Barber for $9,400. You're going to offset that with the Donald Cerrones and Yair Rodriguez of the world. And you're going to have a sick lineup with a mad potential to score 4 or 5 finishes and score big. That's what I could see happening for sure. But I would be taking Davi Ramos because it almost just seems like he'd really have to blow this. And the last time we've really seen him blow it, maybe the Sergio Moraes fight, he fought the GOAT at the ground game in this division on like a week's notice up a division. So everything is now written for him. I know back in the day, Dave Rickles beat him in Bellator. Like, he's not that guy anymore. He was only a jiu-jitsu guy back then. Now he's a mixed martial artist that has to be awesome on the ground. I think he buzzsaws him. I think, Nick Hine is twice the fighter that John Gunther is. Let's be real here. So Davi Ramos should roll, and I'm paying up.
The aforementioned Devontae Smith takes on Julian EROSA. Devontae Smith is 9,100 in DraftKings, minus 235 favorite. EROSA, Juicy J is 7,100 and plus 195. Watching the the Dana White Contender Series fight before he came in, was watching that, just kind of freshen myself up, get ready for the show. I was just like, I don't see anything special here. We got this guy, but the thing is, like, Juicy J is not exactly a world beater by any stretch of the imagination as well. But like Devontae Smith, he had a decent jab. He looked, he moved pretty well on his feet. I'm not an expert in terms of actual foot movement or anything like that, or the way that you close in the circle. So I'm not even going to pretend to be. But yeah, I wasn't really all that impressed. He ended up, his opponent came in, tried to get the takedown, and he ended up Travis Browning elbows to the side of the head. Like, it was looking relatively competitive on the feet. Now he comes in and he's got a big minus 235 price tag attached to him. Like, we've seen a lot of these guys from this show come in with big price tags next to them, and the hype doesn't really add up when they come off of this Dana White show. Like, hey, T. Edwards, that was a result-based analysis type of line that got placed on T. Edwards, and I kind of bought into it. I was absolutely wrong. And Don Madge was the underappreciated, underknown
told
person.
You to stay away from T. Edwards.
You told me to stay away from him. I didn't get blown out by that, but it definitely killed some of my lineups. I see a guy who is pretty green in this spot here, and Rosa this is his second time in the UFC. He's done the dance before. He's been in the organization. Like, I think this is a closer fight than the lines dictate. That's all I'm really saying here. I don't really have a confirmed winner that I have yet, but I'm not touching minus 235 Devontae Smith. I will tell you that much.
Yeah, I know. I think you pretty much nailed it.
I don't know if I'm going to touch Rosa because it's just like, I just don't trust him.
I was just going to say, it's because it's just more untrustworthy guys. That should lead to a good fight. Both guys are just very untrustworthy. Julian EROSA has made a lot of improvements, but there's still just glaring holes in his game, and that's what makes it risky, is that Devontae Smith does hit hard. He's got some power, athletic guy, green. These green guys, they wind up, they throw. And the thing with Julian EROSA, two things going against him is, one, his distance management, his ability, because he's a tall fucking guy. Awful. And two, he's got this luring style where he keeps his hands down, tries to bait you in. And both times I've seen him at the UFC level. You want to talk about him fighting, when he was in the Ultimate Fighter at the UFC level, he got knocked out by Artem Lobov and Teruta Ishihara, who one guy's 5'6", one guy's 5'7", and this guy's 6 feet tall. This guy I think he has 6 or 7 inches reach advantage on both of those guys. And he got KO'd by both of those guys because they just close the distance on him. Like, he's very mobile. He's got a long distance kick game, but at some point the opponent closes the distance, they hit him, and he goes down. And so you could see that happening with Devontae Smith. You can see him closing the distance and knocking out Julian EROSA. But man, I got a feeling it goes the other way too. Okay, I got a feeling that if you're Devontae Smith, you've knocked out a lot of guys quick. You've got those quick 3-minute knockouts. You've got those quick, late first-round finishes, but mostly first-round finishes. The loss against John Gunther is the one fight that goes round 3 because he completely gets tired out. And the thing with EROSA is that EROSA can go multiple rounds. EROSA's fought in title fights before. EROSA, surprisingly, what's this guy's record? Let me just check real quick. 22-5. Yeah. That is a solid record, man, plus his experience on The Ultimate Fighter. But that's nearly 30 professional fights, so the guy's done the dance. Meanwhile, Devontae Smith is literally 2 years removed from losing to John Gunther because he gassed out. So I think EROSA probably should have got the contract straight up. He beats Emmers, who's legit, better than Devontae Smith, with a head kick, sick, the kind of thing you catch green rookies with. And they say, you know what, we're not going to give you a contract right now, but we're going to keep you on the radar. Someone gets hurt, we're looking to bring you in. They told him, someone gets hurt, we're looking to bring you in. I bet you he stayed in good shape, and it's not even like, hey, you're an injury replacement. This fight gets matched up. He's looked better every fight gradually, even though it's Juicy J, and you probably shouldn't bet a lot of money on Juicy J because not the most trustworthy of guy, could get knocked out here. Yeah, again, there is value here. He's $7,100, and he's a finisher. He really is. He finishes a lot of his fights, so I'm not worried about him having the ability to finish Devontae Smith. $7,100, that's amazing. And the plus 195, like, shit, man, it's 2-1. So, God, it's another dog or pass fight. It just so happens that the dog's got great value on him. And it is Julian Erosa. So let's just say it one more time. You're betting on Juicy J here. But again, yeah, no, the value's there. And I can see it. And I will be putting some shares.
Eric Shelton takes on Joseph Morales. We have Eric Shelton at 8,200 minus 120. Morales is 8,000 and a plus 100. Shelton's like loser of like 4 of his last 5 fights, taking on some pretty good competition along the way. Joseph Morales got a submission win against Roberto Sanchez, and then lost his last fight against Figueiredo. Figueiredo's a young stud in the making, unfortunately.
Making somewhere else.
Did they cut him? Hopefully they didn't cut him. Let that guy fight at 135. He's pretty. But what if he's not the same? He's pretty jacked and big and muscular. Unfair. Hopefully he can make it. Hopefully he's on the bigger side of, because like that guy's an actual legitimate talent.
And he cuts a lot of weight.
Yeah.
So he might not give a shit. He might want to. It's so like Cejudo. Cejudo's not like, man, they killed my division. He's like, woohoo! Thank God, don't gotta do that no more. Yeah. So yeah, maybe Figueiredo is the same way.
This one's close to a pick'em for a reason. I really don't know who to pick in this one, to be perfectly honest. Shelton's had flashes. He had a good little run on the Ultimate Fighter. And he has good gas and a pretty high pace in all of his fights. But all of his fights are razor close.
It's true.
So I don't expect much different here. I think, Morales coming out of Team Alpha Male, he'll be ready for this type of style of fighter that he's going to be taking on. I think this is about as close as it comes. I don't know if you need to have it on DraftKings, unless it turns into a scramble fest on the ground, which is possible. But I'm interested to hear your take, to be honest. I got nothing on this, to be perfectly honest.
It's a tough fight, to be honest with you. This is a very rare fight. There's only, I think, maybe 3 or 4 more that are going to be like exactly like this over the rest of the year, and maybe forever. This is the very rare loser and winner go home match, because neither one of these guys will be on the roster in the upcoming months.
Yep.
They would just not be factors at 135. Eric Shelton is tiny, and his biggest issue is he can't wrestle, man. Like, yeah, he looked good on the Ultimate Fighter. Beat Yoni Sherbatov. That was certainly a big upset for me personally. Makes it to the finals. Gave Tim Elliott, whatever run he could. It was decent for him. But Alexander Pantoja, split decision. But, that wrestling really cost him. The Jared Brooks fight, split decision. But it was the wrestling that ultimately did cost him. Beats Janelle Losa, who's a boxer. He can't wrestle to save his life anyways.
And he uses wrestling against Losa, but Losa had nothing.
Exactly. And then the last fight, this is the most, the biggest one for me. Eric Shelton's a good striker, man. He's fast. He got good hands, decent little kick game, but mostly good hands, good range. Guy's kind of got a good frame for 125 pounds, and he just needs to learn how to counter wrestle. And he was training with Elevation Fight Team in Colorado, and he was marginally getting better. I mean, listen, dude, you went against Pantoja to a split decision. Pantoja is a black belt who knows how to wrestle. Your fight with Tim Elliott, it was, you showed something, kid. Tim Elliott is the grinder of grinders, and And Jared Brooks. Jared Brooks is a guy that wrestled collegiately, a guy that had an amazing amateur record. Well, a guy that we all know knows how to wrestle. And again, you know, you showed something there. But then you leave that Colorado fight scene, went back to Texas, where Pete Spratt, who I've got nothing bad to say about, my boy, the secret weapon, is a Muay Thai stylist who absolutely does not know anything about the ground game. And Sheldon allowed himself to fall back into that. His fight with Alex Perez, mind you, Alex Perez is actually pretty good. He was not able to stuff the takedowns to save his life. And that's an issue going against Joseph Morales, who A, has a submission win over Roberto Sanchez, who is dynamite on the ground. And the guy's an alpha male fighter. I mean, he's going out there, team alpha male fighter, sorry. He's going out there with the mentality of do exactly to this guy what the last number of guys that have had wins over him have done. Bulldoze him to the ground, out-grapple him. He's capable of doing both those things, so I'd have to lean towards Joseph Morales. He's another pick-em fight, even though he is the dog. A lot of dogs that I like on this card. He's $8,000. The thing is, even if he does have his way, take Sheldon to the ground and pound him, Sheldon's actually really durable. Dude, let's face it. He went to decision with Pantoja. He went to decision against guys like Jared Brooks. He went to decision in his last fight against Alex Perez, who needed no time to knock out Shorty Rock, Jose Torres. So, dude, I don't know. Like, he's a very durable guy. I wouldn't really be interested in the $8,000 for DraftKings. But if he goes out there and gets a decision win, he'd be a good cash game play. Too risky for a cash game, in my opinion. It's a stay away. It really is. If you're looking to make up a lineup with a lot of dogs, I'll give Poggy Rob a shout out because we could have the craziest parlay at the end here. I know. As I said, at the end, we'll give him a little something. But he's just another dog that has a shot. Unfortunately, it's a pick-em, so he's not really a dog.
And finally, we have Mark De La Rosa taking on Joby Sanchez. 9,000 De La Rosa, minus 245. Sanchez, Joby, this guy's cost me so much money in the past. 7,200 and plus 205. Just from that one little side glancing comment, you know how I feel about this. I think the value is on Joby Sanchez here, big time. But Sanchez, the guy just finds a way to get submitted. He's not very good on the ground.
I know. Do you know what my notes said?
Takedown defense is bad. And it is what it is. De La Rosa should not be minus 245. He's got to get an early takedown. He's got to get that submission. It's possible against this type of opponent. But we always kind of thought with Joby, it's just like, maybe one of these days, he's going to put it all back together. He's going to put it together and figure out how to not get taken down. But you know, this is actually a bantamweight, so good on him. He's not necessarily cut yet, but
oh, it's coming.
It's coming, especially if he loses to Mark De La Rosa. I'm not high on De La Rosa. Like, he has his loss in the UFC was it against Sanchez?
Tim Elliott.
Oh, it was Tim Elliott.
Who's a fucking beast.
That's a tough spot, yeah.
Of course. It's a super tough spot.
Sanchez cost me money on his first time through. Sanchez cost me money, I believe, in his last time out he lost to Sanchez. It was Sanchez versus Sanchez.
Joby Sanchez, his last time was against Roberto Sanchez.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh, this guy could wrestle. He'll just stuff the shitty takedowns. It's like, nope.
Yeah. Joby
Sanchez, one point or another.
So untrustworthy. He is the bookmark, or the bookend. He is a bookend of untrustworthiness. That's the general trend over the course of this. I can't trust Joby. I can't do it again. I won't be rostering Mark De La Rosa because he has to get that early round finish. I don't see very much skill on the feet. But Joby is, I can't trust him at 72. There's so many other values that I like Donald Cerrone, I think much better value. Of Yair that I kind of like along the way. I don't have to pay down for Joby. I can't let him hurt me again.
Do you really want to hurt Paul? Yeah, it happens all the time. Well, if you've noticed, the theme so far is that lots of untrustworthiness. And Joby Sanchez, in many ways, is like a version of Amanda Bobby Cooper in the sense that at some point or another, he's going to end up on the ground. And when he ends up on the ground, he's generally getting submitted. And that's just a knock on Joby Sanchez. Someone told me, they're like, you know what, Joby Sanchez, I think he wrestled a season at ASU. But anyways, he wrestled in college, D1 level. And it's like, yeah, but he just gets taken down literally every time somebody shoots a takedown on him. If your game plan is to shoot takedowns against Joby Sanchez, you're going to get some of them. Just happens every time with him. It's like, hey, dude, this guy's Greg Jackson, Jackson Winklejohns. Been there his entire career. It doesn't seem to make any difference. The credentials are there. The skill's there. You remember his fight with Wilson Hayes back in the day? No one knows who this guy is. He comes out of Jackson's. He's tough. He can wrestle. He's scrappy. He puts up a hell of a fight. And it's all been downhill since then. He sometimes rises to the occasion, pulls off a good little win. He was on Dana White's Contender Series. He was the most experienced guy, obviously, on the show. He's going to get the victory. Gets the victory, comes to the UFC, falters against Roberto Sanchez. Roberto Sanchez is like an IT guy, has a full-time job, doesn't really have any wrestling, doesn't really have any striking, bullishly strong on the ground, good jiu-jitsu game. He should not have been able to take down Joby Sanchez. He should have gotten paced up over the course of 3 by Joby's superior striking. It doesn't happen that way. Like, you could take this guy down. When you do take him down, it's done for you. And Mark De La Rosa is just a better grappler than him. Joby Sanchez probably has the advantage striking, but for how long? Joby Sanchez is going to paint a masterpiece for 15 minutes? Stick and move for 15? No. He'll stick and move for 2 or 3, and then at some point he'll get jammed up against the cage. At some point he'll get cut off. At some point he'll get taken down. At some point he'll throw a kick and he'll slip. At some point he'll get something caught and he'll fall down. It just happens with Joby Sanchez. And Mark De La Rosa's got some sick grappling. His wife, Montana De La Rosa, like you see the same thing with her. They're good grapplers. They're good grapplers against moderate level of competition. And this is moderate level competition. Mark De La Rosa I got a full camp coming into this fight. And Joby Sanchez, a natural 125er, is taking this fight on 2 weeks' notice, jumping up to 135. He's not going to be fully ready. He's going to be the smaller guy, and at some point or another, the bigger guy is going to take him down and submit him. So I got to go to De La Rosa. And where's the 9,000? The 245, I'm not huge on it. Don't love it. But the 9,000, normally I wouldn't be huge on it. But there's so much other value on this card that if you can spend up the 9,000 on De La Rosa, the 9,500 on Ramos, and say the 9,400 on Barber, that leaves you with no money. But this is the kind of card where it's like, you don't need a whole lot of money to fill up those other roster spots. So I don't think he's the worst pick out there. I think De La Rosa could. Joby Sanchez has got a tendency to get finished. When he does get finished, he kind of gets finished early. So De La Rosa on some lineups has got a high ceiling. And so I see some merit there. Joby Sanchez is untrustworthy, dude. I can't even say dog or pass because I just do not have any faith in him.
I'm not letting him hurt me again, as I said.
Yeah, you're right. Don't let him hurt you, Paul.
I believed in it. The Jackson Wink narrative. I saw, and it was that Wilson, it was the Wilson Hayes fight. It's just like, all right, he's taking on somebody of an elite level, and he did well for himself. Like, he dropped Wilson Hayes, and that was really the high water. That was the beginning of the end.
There was another guy.
Wasted a lot of money on this guy over the years.
There was another guy. He was coming out of the Jackson Winklejohn camp. He stepped up on short notice against Tony Ferguson, and dude, he dropped him in the first round. He motherfucking go. And then it really kind of, the tent fell apart at that point. And he's never been the same. Sometimes it just happens, dude. Sometimes it's like a flash in the pan, big performance. Everyone's saying you're short notice. Buddy, you're on short notice. You don't know what I bring to the table. But then they figure you out. And once they figure out, they got your game. And once they got your game, you're not as unpredictable anymore. I don't know. Joby Sanchez does everything right. And so does Lando for the most part. It's just that they can't get over the hump. That UFC hump. And De La Rosa is not that bad. He's not so bad that I would say, a mediocre performance beats him. A good performance is required to beat him. They don't know that Joby Sanchez has got the full 15 in him. De La Rosa will be hard enough to put away. Yeah, Tim Elliott put him away, but buddy, you are not Tim Elliott. So it's different. Different matchup, different style.
Any final thoughts?
No, you want to talk about the flyweight division, but...
Didn't we already?
Yeah, I was going to say we mostly did. It's nobody's fault. I know McGregor's talking shit about ONE FC's president, Chaudhry, but dude, it's nobody's fault. The UFC couldn't market this division. It's just what it is. The UFC only cares about money. Let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Martial artists, fight fans, gamblers, everybody who's into the sport, we love the flyweights. And the people that were K1 fans, they love K1 Max. The little guys are more entertaining than the big guys. It is what it is, and it's always been that way. I'd rather see Dwayne Ludwig kickbox and Ramon Decker's kickbox than watch Semi Schilt kickbox. It's just what it is. But you can't sell those guys as much as you can sell the big guys. And you say yourself, people want to see Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis's last fight against Volkov, before Cormier, Volkov, he gets shit kicked and lands one late punch, right? His fight against Roy Nelson was terrible. His fight against Francis Ngannou is lauded as one of the worst fights in recent memory. Yeah. But people don't care about it. It's so bad, and then you just land that one big shot and it's game over. That's all that people care about. The flyweights didn't really have that. Demetrius Johnson had a high finish percentage, especially for a UFC champion. He defended the belt more than any other UFC champion. He's the pound-for-pound king, was the pound-for-pound king. The division's got a lot of exciting guys. They could have marketed it. It's better than the women. No offense. It's better than women's 45. It's better than women's 25. It's better than some of their other divisions in the UFC. It's just they cannot market it, so they don't care. So as fans, let it go. Let it go to somebody that's going to market it better. If PFL has a flyweight tournament, we're going to get all the best flyweights in a tournament. That'd be kick-ass. If PFL doesn't get it and Bellator gets it, we've got an entire division ready to go, right to Bellator. An entire division stocked up, ready to go. And if one FC wants to pick a couple parts, whatever, these guys will go get paid and they get to travel the world. Like, you can't be mad about it. The UFC would drop the ball. These guys were all severely underpaid. And I know it sucks, especially if you're a martial artist and you've trained your whole life. Look at Malcolm Gordon, right? Shout out to Chad Doe because, you know, 2 Windsor guys. Well, he's a London guy, but, you know, there's a little connection there, Windsor and London. But Malcolm Gordon's, he's worked hard to get to the UFC. This is his dream. He's had setbacks. He's done everything right. He's on a roll right now at 125 pounds. He's realistically maybe like 1 fight away from getting to the UFC. If not, could take a short notice call right now. That's gone. That's gone. You don't get that anymore. You're not going to have these guys that are smaller weight class guys being able to do that. And the guys at 125 that get the opportunity to go to 135, well, we remember them being awesome flyweights. But now they're going to be mediocre, you know, bantamweights. Unless they're a one-of-a-kind John Lineker, who nobody's John Lineker except for John Lineker.
John Lineker's not even a flyweight.
He could fight at any weight class he wants. He could fight a heavyweight. I don't give a shit. John Lineker has a way to John Lineker. It is what it is.
Lineker versus Cruz.
He's going to kill Cruz. Cruz's stick and move style against a guy that just only marches forward.
And just marches forward.
Cruz's, I have next to no power in my punches, but I look flashy on the scorecard. That will not work. You have to sting this guy to get him off of you. You cannot sting this guy. You're going to get backed up.
Or take him down and neutralize him like Dillashaw did.
Cruz could take him down. But Cruz is not the same Cruz that he used to be.
Cruz is smart. That's the one thing I worry about is that he takes him down. But is he going to be strong enough to hold Lineker down? I'm not sure about that.
I think if he gets him down, maybe he can hold him down. I think he'll have trouble getting him to the ground. I think that's going to be the biggest problem.
We know how much... Lineker, yeah, he's just going to march for. Cruz will have to be on his bike, and he's great at being on his bike, but, man, Lineker is just going to come and just wing punches.
Yeah, it's just the way it is. It's tough. Yeah, he's my kind of guy. And I said last week, Shane Burgos is my kind of guy. Burgos might have a chin issue moving forward. I'm really glad he got the win, and he was huge for my DK teams and all that. Don't get me wrong. Had him on a lot of my parlays. Not all my parlays, but a lot of them. Yeah, when you have that style, you got to be able to take the punch to back it up. Lineker can take the punch. So that's something that you know you're getting the goods every time. Burgos, now he's been hurt in the past. He has the knockout, and Kurt Hall floors you like that early in the first round. That style doesn't work forever, but John Lineker's little gnome head is literally designed to take punishment.
I feel like if we had like a Mount Rushmore of greatest chins in UFC history, like it's got to be Lineker. Lineker literally broke his jaw against TJ Dillashaw. Never quit.
Yeah.
Never quit, never stop. The guy doesn't even get rocked. Like, it's bizarre.
Yeah, well, that'll be a question for next week. Who's got a better chin than Lineker? Because as much as you'd love to say shit like Roy Nelson and Mark Hunt, it's like
we're gonna have a lot of empty ballots with likes and nobody.
No, those guys have legendary chins, but everyone's been knocked out. But John Lineker, it's like stopped and knocked out are two different things, you know? And this guy doesn't get knocked out.
Yeah, 100%. I love John Lineker.
Okay, well, looking forward to him versus Cruz.
Yeah, it's UFC 233. Anyway, that wraps it up for us. Thank you, Cody Saftic, breaking down the fights with me, as always. Thank you to Chad Dow for doing all the sweet cuts behind the scenes here. For both of those guys, I am Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.
Mayo experience! Experience!